Hi guys, welcome. We're here today with Osian Pryce, who's just come back from 2 straight rally wins on the British Rally Championship. Next weekend he enters the Ulster Rally, and it'll be the decider for the British Rally Championship. I'm here today with Jack, part of the Tweeks senior management. We're just going to have a general chat about things and see where it goes. So Osian, how's the season been for you?
Yeah, it's been an okay season, to be honest. We haven't had the best starts. We've managed to finish on the podium every rally. It might not look so bad from looking from the outside, but we've been far away from where the pace needed to be, and haven't really clicked with the car up until recently. Obviously, the 2 wins. So it's been a sort of a slow process, but we're finally jumped the hurdle now, and we're on the way.
You're heading the points board. Is it 108 points you're currently at?
Yeah, 108 or 106 something like that.
There's about 12, 13 points in it, I believe, going into Ulster. It's going to be a tight final round.
It is, yeah. It's quite nice that it's come down to the last round in some ways. It's good for the championship.
Keeps it exciting, doesn't it?
Yeah, builds excitement and keeps it there for the whole year. But
and it's just one other driver who could potentially win other than yourself.
It's a straight fight with Matt Edwards. So
and he's your teammate, which makes life a little bit more awkward.
It is, yeah.
Same car,
same identical cars. The only real difference is he runs Pirelli tyres, I run Michelin. So that's the only.
All right, I didn't realise that. I thought it was like a fixed tyre for everyone in the championship.
No, you can use Pirelli, Hankook, or Michelin.
Okay.
We use Michelin.
Did you choose that one brand for the season, or can you change it up throughout? Or?
No, we've stuck with Michelin for the season,
right.
Just for a couple of different reasons. It's kind of consistent and easy to.
Well, that kind of actually explains the reason why you guys will go out and say the first stage, for instance, of the Cambrian, 10 seconds ahead of everyone. You managed to find the grip, whereas I think it was Matt said that he couldn't get the grip. Now, do you think that was solely down to the tyres? I mean, do you share setup information based on your shakedown? Or is it all about the tyres?
I think we had as little grip as him, to be honest. It was just rolling the dice and just
keep your foot in. That's what it looked like anyway.
Just being a bit brave and got away with it.
I suppose it's how confident you are in the settings and the surface, I guess. Are you more confident on that kind of surface over tarmac? Or
it's not so much that. It's like I said earlier, we've had sort of a steep climb to climb, really, and we've managed to click with the car on the pre-event test on the Thursday.
Is that because is this your first year with the car?
First year with the car, yeah, it is the first year with the car, and again, we're not doing an awful lot of testing either, so you don't get time to really click and gel or make changes that you wouldn't necessarily.
And is that restricted by the British Rally Championship?
No,
or is that
it's
just you haven't got the time?
Restricted with the budget, really.
Right.
Obviously, they're not the cheapest cars to run, but we knew leaving the test that we were in a good place with the car.
Yeah.
And usually, if the car's good, then I'm mentally happy with how everything's going to go from my side, because the self-belief was there then. And even though that it was Matt's home rally, it's a rally that he's won before, I was pretty confident I could stick it to him.
Because I spoke to you as you were about to go up the ramp on the promenade, and I said, "How are you feeling?" And, "Yeah, pretty good." And I actually said to you at the time, I said, "You're on this guy's turf, aren't you?"
Yeah, I think a lot of people thought I was playing with fire, rightly so. I mean, I'd probably, if I was looking at it from the flip side, it was my home rally, you'd think the same. But I knew from the previous year when we did the rally, we didn't have we had a different car. Again, it was all rushed, and we finished second last year.
Yeah.
And this car was just night and day better. And last year was my first rally with Noel as well, so it was a new partnership.
Yeah.
So we've done a couple of rallies together. The car's tip top. Just needed that first stage. We'd planned it that if you get first stage in, get the time done there, which we did 10 seconds or 10.4 seconds, and then backed up then by a stage 2 time. If we were fastest, we knew we were kind of going to be on the right track then, so we were, I think, a second and a half quicker.
Yeah, there's definite confidence there. I mean, I watched the in-car that you put up And it was incredible, in places I was thinking to myself, Christ, he's going to go off here. He's going to go off.
The commitment is impressive.
Yeah.
It's completely different to
Wasn't
what we're
it
used to, just trundling around Silverstone with loads of runoff and...
It is different, but again, saying that, if I went to Silverstone or Alton Park, I would find it very daunting, even though that I've got plenty of runoff.
I don't believe you.
I don't believe you. I'm sure the grip levels are a bit more consistent. Either wet,
possibly.
damp, or dry. In the forest, it's a bit of everything.
It's instinct, isn't it? And I think that's at the level that myself and Matt and the top British guys are on. It's everything that we do has to be instinct. To put the times in.
Interesting you say instinct. Do you always have that instinct?
Well, the instinct really builds over time. It's experience. I've been, I think I was saying 12 years at the job now. So, although it's obviously not my full-time job, it's still essentially an expensive hobby for me at the minute. But yeah, it all started 12 years ago with no real aspirations of making it this far. It was just purely for fun and clubman's
How old
level.
were you when you first
16, believe it or not, yeah.
So you couldn't drive on the roads?
We couldn't drive on the roads. We couldn't actually do any events here. So we went to Latvia. Did sort of the same style events as what we have here, one-day events. You had a recce, so you had a chance to make your own pace notes, which was vital, moving forward to this day and age. You've got that experience in the bank.
So how old have you got to be in Latvia to compete?
Yeah, you can actually compete from 14, and then you have obviously an able co-driver then that has a driving licence. And I think I had a guy called Craig Parry in with me who'd done so many rallies across the world, and he drove the road sections when we swap at the start of the stage, and then I'd drive through and swap the other end and do the same.
So you started competing over here at 17, I'm assuming?
Yeah, I passed my test about a week and a half after my 17th birthday, and then another week after that I did my local rally. Yeah.
Did you frighten the instructor to death?
No, it was one of those scary things where I had to pass my test to do the rally.
Yeah.
But he kept asking me a lot of questions like, what's your hobbies? And I think he kind of knew, because there had been a bit of...
So he started to analyse your pedal movements.
Yeah.
He wasn't asking you why your left foot braking.
It had been in the local paper that what I was trying to achieve was, pass my test, do the rally. And I think he must have caught on to it because he was local. And he kept asking me really cryptic questions. Oh, what do you do on the weekends? And stuff like that. And I said, I play football. No, I've got 2 left feet. I can't play football to save my life. But... yeah, I don't know if he knew I was being a bit of a bluffer or not, but he was asking really strange questions. Anyway, passed my test.
I said, what did you really do at the weekend?
And I didn't let him know. I just got out of there, and that was like your freedom and as such, and the beginning.
And then was it road rallies and then just clubman events? I'm assuming.
No, I'd never actually driven on any road rallies. I'd navigated on a few as sort of 14, 15-year-old, never really driven, so went straight into sort of forest rallies, local.
Yeah.
I'm quite fortunate. I live in an area where there's quite a few rallies within an hour and a half, so started to do sort of the Welsh Championship events. And
what was that in? Was it rear wheel drive, front wheel drive?
No, front wheel drive. I had a Fiesta ST. It was an M Sport built car. It was a very progressive car.
Right, it's quite a new car.
Yeah.
Did you run that yourself as well?
No, we had a team that ran that for us, and it was a relatively good car to start with because it was basic, but you still had enough competition mods to sort of get you on the ladder and understand what's needed from a car. You had LSD and proper suspension and decent brakes.
And are these sort of junior championships you race against similar age people at this stage, or are you straight in with the deep end with sort of?
No, once you pass your test, that's it. You're in with everybody else. So Latvia
was the only sort of junior stuff.
Yeah,
was it?
But you were still, even out there, you were still up against the.
So it was the national, national rallying rather than.
It was still the national championship in that country. Yeah, so. Okay, there's classes where, especially nowadays, they obviously promote the under 23s, 24s a bit more, try to bring new talent along. But when I started, there wasn't really that many avenues for a young driver. You just were in your class, and that was it. So. And
you've done a few different rallies all over the world, haven't you?
Yeah, we've done quite a few. I think we've done 14 WRC events, which is quite a nice tally. Cool. We'd like to obviously add to that. But
any good results to talk about in those?
we won the DMAC Championship in 2016, which is essentially now the Junior World Championship. But,
Okay.
it was sponsored by DMAC Tyres at the time, and we won it back in
What
16.
did you get for winning that? Just out of interest.
Well, funny enough, it was the prize was split into 3 categories. So there was 6 rallies. So whoever was first after the first 2 would get 1 prize, and the same the middle 2 and the last 2. So we won the first 2 rounds, and we had 2 drives in World Championship event with M Sport in a Fiesta R5.
Wow. Okay.
So it was a big thing, really. I won't go into too much detail what happened on the first prize drive, but the second one we finished 4th in Finland, which was a massive result, really, considering.
So that gave you the taste for it.
And in between that year, we were doing the British Championship as well, which we led up until we retired with mechanical problems. So.
And that was what year? Sorry.
That was 2017.
2017.
Was that the last time you did the championship as well?
The last full campaign was in 17.
Yeah.
We're back again to, touch wood.
Yeah.
do the business again.
Fantastic.
So we've just done a walk around the car outside. You and Guy sort of had a good look through that. Talk us through the Polo that you're driving at the moment in the championship, and that compared with the Polos that our viewers will see sort of on the road.
Yeah, it's a completely different animal to what you find in your normal VW garage or showroom, or even out on the road. I don't think it really shares any of the fundamentals from the road car, apart from the badge or maybe a bit of logos and maybe windscreen. But yeah, it's effectively a Polo GTI, R5 or Rally 2 as the new class is called. FIA car, 4-wheel drive, 1600 turbo, knocking on a door, 300 horse, and nice price tag of 250,000 to go with it.
It's one step down from a world car, is it? What's the difference there?
Yeah, so Rally 1, as the new rules are now, is the top flight world rally car, and then Rally 2 is obviously the Polo that I use. So it's effectively like the GP2 of Formula 1, really.
Yeah.
Can I just butt in there? Where's the 5 bit come from? The R5.
It's kind of the classes have been reverted. So the higher
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
it was, yeah, and you'd have
okay.
a world rally car, but it's now gone the other way to make it a
Then
bit.
you said like WRC 2, didn't you?
Yeah, so now it's a bit clearer. So it's Rally 1, Rally 2, and so on and so forth down.
Right. Okay.
So your Rally 1 is your world rally car, and then Rally 2 is obviously the R5 car that we've got.
Do you have any kind of factory support, or is it purely Melvin that looks after the car, or do they have sort of an engineer from Volkswagen
Yeah,
come to the events with you?
they have a few Polos that they run, so they have got good customer support from Volkswagen Motorsport, Melvin Evans Motorsport. They've got about 3 or 4 cars that they run, so they get a lot of technical information from Volkswagen.
All successfully run as well.
Yeah, So there's obviously the 2 cars that they run are going for the title. So they're doing. They've got a good reputation, and they run a good show. So they get a lot of support technical wise from Volkswagen to run the cars, and obviously make sure that we've got the best car, the latest spec, and so we can do the job.
So they can do that work remotely, I'm assuming, if they can plug the car in and they can read all the data from Germany?
Yeah, they can. Data is obviously a massive thing nowadays. There's still obviously the mechanical aspects that you can't quite see. But when you're working with experienced people, there'll be people there that worked in the Rallycross program with Volkswagen, the World Rally Championship program. They know what to look out for.
Yeah. And would the, just out of interest, when you do an event on tarmac and then forest or gravel, would you run a different map?
No.
Is it generally the same?
Generally the same. There might be some changes. The main changes, like we mentioned, is suspension. You'd alter the differentials, obviously, to work in a different way. And you'd have a different ratio in the gearbox.
Gear
as well.
Ratios. It's 5-speed sequential.
5-speed sequential, and then there's I think first and second gear stay the same, and then you change third, fourth, and fifth for gravel and tarmac.
Right. Okay.
Just going back to the package as well, for £250,000, do you get a big spares package with that, or what comes with it? Or is it just the car as you see it? Have you got to add and?
No, it's for about 250,000. You probably get the car and a very limited spares package. Probably enough to do your local rally. You wouldn't have enough spares or wheels or wheel rims to do a World Championship event. But yeah, it's literally a car that's just sat there ready for you to jump into.
We touched on wheels earlier in the day, and you mentioned, I think you used eight at the weekend just gone. So how many wheels do you normally take to these events?
We take about 10 to 14. Roughly. We're restricted on the gravel rallies that we can only use 10 tyres maximum. So that allows a little bit if you're going to play tactical and take 2 spares and swap the fronts or rears, whichever works.
There's no carry on either. You can't like save a few and bank them for the.
No, you can't. Well, I suppose you could save that on the budget, but in terms of your allocation, still you can't carry anything over from a previous rally.
And if you're doing a gravel event and you've decided, obviously you're using Michelin, right?
Yeah.
How many compounds are there within that gravel tyre, or is there just 1, maybe 2? Or do you have to choose that prior to the event, or can you swap halfway? Or
no, there's 2 main compounds for gravel that we use in the UK really. We have a soft and a medium. You can change any point. All our tyres are barcoded, so they know that you're using the allocation up. So that they're quite strict with that. So nobody can use 15 tyres and nobody would know about it. So yeah, it's well controlled, so everybody has a fair chance at it.
Yeah. And apart from that, I'm guessing it's brake bias, tyre pressure, suspension settings. There's a difference between having grip on a stage and not having grip.
Yeah, and the thing is with gravel especially, you never have full grip.
No.
Ever. You're always having to contend with slip and sliding and locking up and finding grip. Your grip level could change, half a dozen times more even in one stage.
Certainly looked like the 4 wheels are moving in different places on that video at different times.
Yeah, and that's how it is. Like to somebody who outside looking in, that it's kind of a big thing, but to us, it's just like I say, the instinct, and you have to deal with it, and your experience has to come in.
I suppose that's what you learn on, is it, as well, in that sort of environment, rally, forest sort of gravel stuff.
Yeah. Started obviously in the forest rallying, and then did some tarmac events, but yeah. So
would you say that's your favourite sort of terrain, or?
Yeah.
I don't really have a preference. I get asked
That's
a lot.
Good thing.
It is a good thing.
Because the next one's tarmac, right?
Next one's tarmac.
Right.
The Isle of Mull was that tarmac?
That was tarmac.
Yeah.
I think we've actually had more success or more wins on tarmac than gravel.
And the Ulster is?
Ulster's tarmac,
Good to hear.
which we've won before.
And that was when, sorry, when did you last?
We won that in 2013.
13, right.
So
okay.
that was my first ever British Championship win.
Was that in the Fiesta?
That was in a Citroen DS3 back then.
Right, okay.
And it was quite rewarding because that year we actually ran the car ourselves. So it was a big family environment. Even it's still now, but back then everything was done at home from the little garage by the house. And yeah.
And this Ulster Rally can be followed on the British Rally Championship social platforms, stage by stage as well. So if any of you guys want to follow Osian's progress, please feel free. It's all very well covered, stage by stage.
Yeah, we'll be rooting for you watching anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I was on my phone at in the Cambrian, and I was like, wow, hold on, it's like a minute, 2 minutes ahead.
It was impressive.
But yeah, it's all looking promising, and we wish you all the best of luck. 100%.
We just need to keep
it between the trees.
Keep the winning streak up as well.
Yeah, keep it on the black stuff.
We've been doing
hat-trick of wins would be nice, wouldn't it?
That would be nice.
Would
it would actually repeat what I did in 2013. We had a similar sort of start in 13. Not the best start, and then we won the last 3 rallies. So let's see if history
repeats itself.
That sounds like you're just coming to terms with the car at the right time of the season, and you're in a good place. So I think we'll just touch the wood and wish you the best, and tune in, and it'll be interesting to see how it turns out.
I certainly will.
I think the guy and I have talked about it quite a few times, and there's the annoying mechanism of dropping scores, which kind of adds to the confusion when we're looking at the championship leaderboard. You can't quite read it, and you finished on the podium every rally this time, so it doesn't really play into your hands of rewarding the consistency that
No.
you've shown all year.
No.
But you're still there, and it's yours to lose, I suppose. But how does the drop score kind of work in the British Rally Championship?
Yeah, it's been the same ever since I started doing the British Rally Championship, and I think I've led the championship on twice, if not 3 times, and because of the consistency side, with dropping 2 of your worst scores, so 7 rounds, only 5 scores count. If you have high scores like we have this year, we've not finished lower than 3rd. You tend to lose quite a lot of points.
Yeah.
Whereas,
You've also got the joker as well, haven't you?
yeah,
Depending on the finish
get extra
position,
points.
you get extra points based on where you finish. So first is an extra 5. Is it?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Yeah, okay.
So yeah, we've jokered, got maximum points, which was
30, I think, is it?
yeah, a
Yeah.
big help.
That's a
for
win
us.
and 5 for the
Yeah.
joker.
But again, we're kind of being penalised for our consistency, which is a little bit annoying, but yeah, it makes things a bit more exciting.
And so has Matt not played his joker? Is he playing his joker on the last rally? Is that?
No,
Did he play on Cambrian, I
yeah,
think?
Cambrian.
Did play it?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
he had 3 extra points.
Right, okay,
so
okay.
yeah, better than
Third
5.
place, I think, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it'll be interesting to see. Tell us a little bit more about what other sort of rallying you've been involved in, because I know from previous conversations you've done all sorts all over the world, and not just sort of competition rallies, but you're involved in all sorts.
Yeah, I've been quite fortunate. You know, I've been all over the world, and I suppose the biggest sort of eye opener for me was the classic safari rally in 19. So 8 days in a Mark 1 Escort.
And that was with Tuttles, was it?
No, that was with a team, Rally Extreme, were running the car.
Okay.
So yeah, that was an adventure.
So that's an 8-day rally across. Where do you?
So we started in Kenya, and we went into Tanzania, and then we basically traced our steps back then the second half of the event and did the route backwards. So yeah, probably the most surreal event I've ever done.
Slightly different scenery to the Cambrian.
Yeah, slightly.
Giraffes.
Yeah, it's the only place where I've had a suntan whilst driving a car.
Really? And did you come across any interesting livestock
We did.
on stage?
If I remember coming down one stage, and the co-driver and I just went completely silent. There's a massive giraffe.
How do you gauge what it's going to do?
Well, that was the tricky thing, and I've not really been that close to a giraffe before, so I wouldn't really know. I wasn't sure what to do. So you know, it took forever to get out of the way, but the speed it was going at was something else. You would think.
Go quick, don't they?
So he managed to get out of the way, and we went on and passed it.
And was that sort of in the middle of nowhere sort of environment?
Yeah, we were in the middle of a national park. So yeah, wildlife was everywhere.
You know, when you're in sort of a wildlife park or going through like safari desert sand or whatever, there's not a lot of sort of focal points. So what's the navigator's role there in regards to, is it sort of 400 metres, slight right past bush, or you know, it's completely different to somewhere like the Cambrian.
Yeah,
so
do you
have like a map, or do you have like?
It's slightly different on those events. Whereas the conventional rallies, like we do in the British Championship, the Friday or the Thursday before the event, you have a 2-pass, what we call a recce.
Yeah.
So you'll view the stages and communicate, myself and the co-driver, write the notes down and check them. But the safari rally was all done off a tulip roadbook.
Right, okay.
So it was off the trip meter,
Yeah.
all very vague. So you'd have a kilometre junction left, or 3 kilometres junction right, or turn left by this. And there was a bit more safety involved the year I did it. So if there's a really bad gully or ditch across the road, they'd mark it in the road book. But you got to take it all with a pinch of salt, because you're going off a trip meter at the end of the day. That could be, if you're 50 metres out, you're screwed really. So we did have some hefty knocks.
It's all a bit random.
Any side of the road moments?
We did have a couple of side of the road moments, which was a little bit annoying. But
if you're in like a township or a village, all the locals will come up to you, won't they? And start to get involved.
We actually managed to get drowned out in the middle of a village, and a massive washaway of water was up to halfway up the engine, and so we had to be pushed out. And obviously,
all the locals help you.
Yeah, they push you out.
That's
And
brilliant.
obviously you've got to kind of you've got to carry local currency with you, push money, what they call.
Right, okay.
But I was in that much of a hurry, I buggered off, started it and buggered off. So poor Colin, the cameraman who's from the UK, he said, It's all right.
I paid
him. So I left him with the bill, poor bugger. But yeah, completely different experience. Over here we're used to, and even in the World Championship, you're used to being, 100% commitment everywhere. But there it was. I was actually told by Stig Blomqvist. He said, if you think you're going slow, you need to be going slower. And that's how he's won the rally so many times.
And it is something like that as competitive as sort of the British Rally Championship example. Do people take it, or is it more of an experience like, let's say 8 days, see some giraffes, have a bit of banter with the locals, or how do you tackle something like that?
It's a tricky one. You can still find yourself, there's some really fast guys that go and do it.
Yeah.
You'll get a range of level of competitors, where the driving ability is high, then you'll get people who come.
The sharp end's really sharp still.
And it drops away like anything other. And people are there, why would you not want to go and do that for 8 days? So if anybody can do it, then why not?
I think they know when they get there what sort of pace they're going to run at, whether they want to go for the enjoyment or whether they want to add a bit of risk factor to it, or whether they want to sit on the top level of the podium. When you go there, who was your navigator at that time? Because you've only been with Noel for a few years, is that right?
Noel's been with me now for just over 18 months. Obviously, pre-COVID, he did one event and then we didn't rally for the best part of the year then. So basically restarted at the beginning of this year with him. I had another local lad that was with me there in Safari, Dale Furness. So, he'd been with me for years prior to that. So, it was.
So who's doing the RAC this year with you?
Noel's doing the RAC with me again.
Okay.
So we're out. Hopefully,
Mark II.
Yeah, hopefully something that's quite close to my heart.
Yeah.
Historic rallying and Mark II Escort. So
you've got your own Mark II, haven't you?
I have. I've got one in build. Bits. Yeah, in build at the minute. But the car that I'm using for the RAC is a car that I've used before and won rallies with. So it's always nice to go to a rally, especially 5 days long, with a car that's sort of proven, and with a team. Rally Extreme run a good show as well. The car does the job, and you kind of know the reliability and the spares and everything's going to be there with it, rather than me trying to turn up with a brand new car that I've built. And I didn't quite fancy that, to be honest.
So talking about Noel being your navigator, some of our viewers might not be 100% sure on how the navigator works with you. I mean, we've been around the car and we see how low he sits. He's not actually looking where he's going at all. So he's working off notes that you're listening to. Can you explain to us how far ahead some of those notes are called, some of the terms he uses, and the language, for instance? I mean, for example, when I watch some of these rally videos, there's a term that I've always heard, and it's called flat maybe. When you hear that, is it a nervous lift on the throttle or a settled dab on the brake?
I tend to not use it because if somebody says maybe, it just is it or is it not? Yeah. I just want to know one way or another.
But you've heard it, right?
A lot of drivers still use it. Again, it's like the language of patience is effectively a language that's individual to each driver, really. I could have, say for instance, another driver's pace notes and they would make no sense to me. He may as well be calling French notes at me.
So the pace notes, you go through the day before, don't you, with Noel? Do the stage twice, is it?
Yeah, so from the beginning, how it works, we have what we call a recce car, which is basically a standard car with a bit of underbody protection.
And it's got all the trip meters in.
Yeah. We drive round.
When you say you drive round, you just little tinker around?
Yeah, we have to abide by, I think it's 30 mile an hour speed limit through the forests at least.
Okay, so you do get the time to take it in.
So we have to, the first pass, I'll just talk at him basically what I want him to write down and describe back to me. So I'll do that the first pass, then we come back around to look at it again. He then repeats that back to me.
Right, okay.
And if I want any changes made, I just, we chat between ourselves.
So you're able to actually pick things like tree roots, boulders.
Yeah.
You're able to say
your braking points where you can cut corners.
Do you choose the gradient then as well? You say that's a 3, that's a 4.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I use a system which is called 6 fastest. So if I hear a 6, my right foot doesn't lift off the floor, and a 1 is then effectively like a square corner.
So 6 is the angle, And is there a distance applied to that as well for the next corner?
There's a distance between, yeah. So we
Right.
use a distance then in meters, so we know what we've got in between each corner. And obviously there's crests, there's dips, there's potholes sometimes, and
Water hazards, that sort of thing?
yeah, especially like on the Cambrian, we had quite a few big
Flooded areas.
Yeah, flooded areas.
It rained quite heavily the night before, didn't
Yeah,
it?
so
So that's difficult in itself, because when you do the recce,
it's the day before.
yeah,
Totally
and
different.
then it chucks it
Yeah.
down at night, you go out and you go, Christ, I don't remember that flood there.
Yeah, it's a bit of a fine art. I mean, I've been doing it a long time, so
Yeah.
you kind of get your system perfected over the years. We actually used our notes from the previous year, so we were able to sort of perfect them on the in-car from the year before. So we watched the videos back before the rally.
So were all the stages the same as the previous year?
There was 2 stages the same,
Right,
and
okay.
then we had 2 new stages this year. So 2 stages we were starting from a blank sheet of paper. The other 2 we were able to sort of adapt the previous year's notes, which in theory is a massive benefit. Then you have the 2 passes on the recce to fine-tune and perfect those notes.
So Ulster, you've won that rally before, haven't you? So the same stages, just off the old notes, or
No, it's obviously been a couple of years since I've done the Ulster. It's in a new area for me. The guys who did it last time out in 2019, the route's exactly the same.
right?
So for any of the guys that have been there before, they will have a full page,
Right.
full book of notes. But we're starting from scratch effectively, which is not the ideal scenario, but we're able to sort of at least try and get some material from, for instance, other drivers that did it in previous years,
Yeah.
watch their videos, see what the terrain's like. And I guess the other factor into this as well, when the rally has run in previous years, it's been in the middle of August. Well, we're running in November this time, so it could feel like a completely different rally. It's obviously going to rain and be muddy and horrible, so
Obviously.
it's going to be a completely different challenge. So you've got to find the balance of how much you
Does
look
tyre
into it.
temperature play a part on tarmac with you guys? I'm sure it will, won't
Yeah.
it? So even though the ambient temperature could be, 3 or 4 degrees, whereas the summer it could be 25 degrees.
Yeah.
So you'd set your pressures much lower to start out until it got up to temperature.
Yeah, we have a guidance basically with Michelin. So they've obviously tested the tyre before releasing it for sale. So we have to we don't have to, but we tend to stick to their guidelines, because any lower you risk yourself of getting a puncture
Yeah.
or delaminating the tyre, and any higher than the guidelines you tend to sort of lose performance anyway. So
So you can't run sort of tyre leaves on that release the pressure if
No.
it gets too high.
no, we're not permitted to use them.
That's
No.
understandable. Okay, and when you're on tarmac, how many compounds are there in the Michelin?
It's a bit more
Or is
of
it
a
just tread pattern, slick into...
Yeah, we have a couple of, I think, 3 different slick patterns. Then there's a cold weather slick tyre as well. Then you're into your wet, so we have effectively a mixed wet, which is as such your intermediate. So your sidewalls will be like a slick tyre,
Yeah.
but the tread and the pattern is more like a wet tyre. Then you'll have your monsoon wet tyre, which is soft like jelly, and loads of grooves in it to displace the water.
And when you go there, I'm guessing that you can make that decision on the morning.
Yeah,
Okay, so the Michelin will be there, the full truck with everything in it.
yeah. We have sort of it's how good your weather app is on your phone basically, and predict what the weather's going to do. The rallies ran 3 stages repeated, so during those stages we can't make any changes. You leave service with the tyres that you have on the car or whatever you carry in the boot, and you have to run with it. So if you're on slicks and it rains, well, you've got to
It's going to be slippy.
just got to grin and bear it and get on with it.
Brilliant. Going back to your own Mark II, it'd be interesting to just hear a bit about your sort of passions outside of rallying. Obviously, it sounds like it's still car related, but yeah. So is your Mark II your pride and joy? Give us a bit of an update on that.
Yeah, I've just tend to have expensive hobbies, whichever way you look at it. I suppose Ford Escorts Mark I and Mark II. My grandfather had a few, and then obviously the interest has sort of come from there, really.
Yeah.
The first rally car I drove was a Mark II Escort, which now, I think, 12 years later or whatever it is, I've started to rebuild and hopefully one day make it into a
That same one?
the same car.
Oh, brilliant. That's
yeah.
cool. And that's
So-
was it your grandfather's? Or?
No, it was
Something like
actually a joint thing between my dad, myself, and my grandfather all them years ago. It was just something that I was initially going to go and start my career in, but
Right.
rear-wheel drive wasn't the way to go. So the car's kind of just been pushed to one side, and
Is that a two-door or four?
it's a two-door, yeah. And I've actually been the old car as it was in its old format. I've been pinching bits off of that to put on my road car Mark II that I built for myself 2 years ago. So that was something I always wanted to do, just have a bit of a fun car for the weekends. And
So you're working to a timeline? Have you got any idea when you think it'll be ready, or is it one of those?
well, it was meant to be by this
Yeah.
by this year, you know. But other things get in the way.
Yeah.
The cost of these cars now to build are phenomenal.
And you hopefully do a rally in it.
Yeah,
That's the plan.
That's the plan, to build it into a proper spec historic rally car. But it would have been cheaper for me to go to somebody to have it done, but I want to do it myself because.
What sort of
I enjoy
spec
it.
is the car?
So the car will be as was really back in 1975 to
Just
80.
original spec.
Original spec. You know,
Right.
no power steering, BDG engine, ZF gearbox, Atlas axle, Bilstein suspension. You know, as you know, no mod cons as such, as was back in period. So
Period colour as well.
yeah, we'll have to keep it in a Ford Diamond White or something like that. And,
Right. Brilliant.
yeah.
So Osian, if we're talking to any sort of prospective budding rally drivers or people who may be thinking about how they might be able to get into the sport, we talked about your career and how you got into it, but any advice or anything to give to those guys?
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of advice, and I don't think there's a one-size-fits-all option, really. Again, I started my sort of rallying career just getting involved with a local motor club. I never actually thought that I'd make a career out of it. And it's all down to how much you get out what you put in. It's quite easy to just get involved with the local motor club, start marshalling or even co-driving, and if you save a few more pennies, you can start driving. Unfortunately, rallying isn't the cheapest sport, but there are very low sort of budget sports. You know, you can do auto testing, just stuff to get your car control up to speed before sort of going into clubman rallying, and going from there, really.
Is there many sort of rally schools you could sort of get a taster, sort of arrive and potentially drive or sit with a rally driver to get a feel for it?
Yeah, there is. I actually instruct at the Forest Experience Rally School in Mid Wales, so it's again where I really got my first taste.
And how does something like that work? So I personally have never been to a rally experience, so if I were to turn up at the Forest Experience, what can I do, or what does the day look like?
It's basically a crash course combined into a day, really, of all the basics that you need to know. You turn up, you get briefed, and you know all the basics that you have to abide by, especially when driving on gravel. And then you get sort of briefed from there and start doing a bit of skill stuff, car control, and then obviously get you onto the proper stage then and putting you in a real life situation. So it's quite easy for anybody off the street to go and do that, and it's probably quite a cost effective way to see if rallying is for you or not.
Yeah. Is that like a full day thing or half day?
Yeah, you can do anything from half day to full day or multiple days, depending on how much you want to learn.
And they could turn up to this and be taught by yourself?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, it's I instruct there, so yeah.
Right, okay.
Sounds like we should get down there, guys.
Yeah, and what car would you drive if you turned up to the Forest Experience?
You've got two options. You've got a Ford Escort Mark II, which is like a rear-wheel drive option, or you've got a Subaru, which is tends to be a bit more of a favourite with the youngsters nowadays because it's a car that's relatable to them.
Iconic, isn't it?
Four-wheel drive.
You mentioned Autotest as well as a way to get involved, and I'd actually did my first ever auto solo, which is slightly different because you only go forwards, there's no reversing, which kind of suited me. But I can only vouch for that being a great way, an entry into motorsport, because it's you use your road car, you just can turn up, and it actually is phenomenal fun, in and out of cones as fast as you can. So yeah, I completely agree.
And the best way to do this is just look for your local motor club, right?
Club, yeah.
Yeah. Most regions do have them, so get involved with that if you're interested.
I think that's really good advice. Thanks, Osian. So it's an interesting story how the Demon Tweeks Osian Pryce relationship sort of formed or sort of got moved on a little bit. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I'm quite fortunate again, doing some more instructing over the winter. I instruct for Total Porsche on their ice driving courses, so I spend a couple of weeks of the year out there instructing on frozen lakes. So
whereabouts is that?
It's in the north of Sweden.
Right. Okay.
So you get proper winter conditions, and it's a great experience from the moment you get there. You're looked after so well. There's a local team there that knows the area, knows the lakes, and they carve a track.
Obviously, check the depth of the ice.
Yeah, check the depth. They carve the track out, and there's 2 inner smaller tracks and then 2 bigger outer ones. Then so
And it's all Porsches, is it?
all classic Porsches, ranging from different sort of specs.
911s from like 70s to 80s.
Yeah, that's it. And
It's normally aspirated stuff.
long wheelbase, short wheelbase, and
Right, okay.
and obviously that's where I met John. So
Yeah, got to be a lot of fun. He had a few laps with you and said, let's sign him up. I think it was an enjoyable and an impressive experience out there. Something I've never done, but I'd love to get out there. And
Yeah, it'd be quite an experience, wouldn't it?
definitely.
So, in regards to John saying, let's get involved with Osian, obviously this year we've supplied you with the help of OMP, Bell and Zero Noise, all your race equipment. We've got your suit behind us here. This is obviously a professional.
Here it is.
Professional race suit, similar to the ones you'd see with the majority of pro drivers, whether it's in Formula One, the likes of George Russell, or whether it's in WRC, the likes of Elvin would be wearing a suit exactly the same as this.
Yeah.
So it's multi-layer, so maximum fire retardancy, breathable, extremely light fabric. I think it sits at about 235 grams per square metre, so it's ultra lightweight, but very, very breathable. So when you're in a hot environment in a car, it's still allowing your body to breathe and stay as cool as possible, but while still offering that protection. And also the helmet. Now, you have to tell us how good this helmet is, but just to give you a bit of background here, Bell have been developing rally helmets now, in the hope for them to be on the professional scene for a good 3 or 4 years now. And just this year, really, towards the end of last year, this year, they brought out a full range from professional, the very, very high spec WRC 8860 spec, to a very entry-level clubman helmet. And we're talking from sort of £4.5 grand level to £250. Still with the same sort of background technology. But Osian, how have you found this helmet and the suit, and Noel as well, as he sort of passed comment on the equipment? What have you used in the past? How is this gear? How does this gear compare? How's it been for you?
Well, obviously you've only got to look aesthetically. You know, they turn heads. You know, we've had quite a lot of comments this year on our kit, and obviously Bell helmet's been so new to the market. Really, we're kind of not following the crowd and going down the Stilo route. So both Noel and myself have used Stilo in the past. So it was nice to have the chance to try a Bell, and so we both had a chat and said, what do you think? And we both said the exact same things. You know, the noise quality is fantastic. It cancels out just enough of the background noise of the car,
which is quite loud.
Which is loud, but you still need a bit of noise to sort of.
I think that noise cancelling comes from the amplifier.
It does.
Certain filters, isn't it?
It does.
What plugs do you wear then?
It's
still built in.
It's built in.
So you've got noise cancelling.
So you don't wear plugs. It's just the
it's built into the helmet.
Yeah, so you can just about see those in there.
But the biggest thing for the pair of us, we both said the same, was it's the fit. We've always struggled with a Stilo with the crown of the head. After especially a long event, you know that you've been wearing a crash helmet for 3 days. Whereas this, you don't even know that you're wearing it. It's so comfortable. And
that's interesting. I mean, everyone's heads are a different shape, but it's good to hear that it's comfortable, that it's working for Bell. I mean, I think the WRC guys have all talked favourably about the brand, about the product. So that's good news.
And the suit, how did you find
the suit? That's the other thing. Like, again, going back to
like a pair of pajamas.
Yeah, they are, and they're custom fit. So we've had them tailor made. They've been great, to be honest. From the first time you put them on, sizing was absolutely.
There's nothing worse than a baggy suit or all these bits
ill-fitting suit.
Yeah,
nothing worse.
And they fit really well. And as well from. They've done 6-7 rallies this year now, so they've had quite a bit of abuse.
What they like when you wash them? Are they okay?
Yeah, they're fine. Like you say, this is my suit. So it still looks like the day
looks like new, doesn't
came
it?
out of the factory. So yeah, and like the comfort of it all and the material. Again, like you touched on it, Guy, with the heat side of things, the car is very, very hot. And again, with the Nomex underwear as well from OMP. So yeah, all in all, it's been a great year from suit and helmet point of view. Very thankful to have had the chance to try them, really, and yeah, let's hope.
So Bell OMP 0 Noise, all available at Demon Tweeks online and in the description below.
And as well as all the products, below will be the experiences we mentioned and maybe some more advice on how to get into motorsport. So Osian, good luck for the final round of the championship. We'll all be tuning in here and cheering you on.
Absolutely.
Good luck, and thanks so much for coming down today. It's been really, really interesting to have a walk around the car and learn more about you and your career to date. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Osian. Really appreciate your time, and good luck.
Thank you, guys. Cheers.
Yeah, guys, if you like what you've seen today, please follow and subscribe on our YouTube channel.
Hit the button down here.
That's it. Yeah,
That's the one. Subscribe.
Bing.